From the IMTV WAVE Channel 5 studio at Greenville Senior High School, home of the Greenville Green Wave, the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library proudly presents Never Stop Serving.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Never Stop Serving. I'm your host, Samuel Plock. This series is sponsored by Greenville High School's Interactive Media class and the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. This morning's guest is James Strange. Welcome him to the show, folks.
Thank you.
James is a Navy Vietnam veteran whose father served in World War II. He is here to share some of his and his father's, of course, memories. Please welcome James.
Thank you.
James, please tell us about your origin story, where you grew up, your parents, and high school, and give us a little background.
Well, I grew up in the woods out on Jordan Road outside of Lewisburg, Ohio. And my dad built that house there, oh gosh. I was still hanging on to Mom's skirt, I'm sure. But had a great time. He was a good man. He always made you say yes sir and no sir and no ma'am, yes ma'am. Ladies first through the door, don't walk in front of a lady, because he didn't like that either. And brought me up not to be a racist, because the black people have just the right to be here as we do. And a lot of them, my dad said, saved his life in that war. And he was over there he was in the Army 6 years. I have a lot of pictures I'd like to show, and he wasn't a mean man, but if you got out of line, you know, back in my day, you'd either get a little bit of belt whooping or something, you know. But he was a great man. He loved to fish. He always took us all fishing. He had boats up on Lake Erie, and always working in the garage. He was a mechanic, and a good one. I was standing on the sidewalk when I couldn't have been over probably 5 or 6 years old, and I looked over and seen him working on that car, and I thought, how does he take care of 5 kids, work here at night and go to work all day and everything, and take care of all this stuff and what all he's been through.
And sleep.
Yeah, not very much sleep for him, because he wouldn't come in till 10 or 11 o'clock at night and then get back up and go to work at 6. But yeah, he was a very good working man, but he loved his fishing, and he would go fishing every weekend. Yeah, he loved to fish. I think that was probably his best sport. I've got a military picture with him holding a big bass in his Army uniform. But yeah, I think that was his favorite thing to do, and he always took me with him. I've got pictures, knee high to him, standing by him with big bass. He loved to bass fish and take us all to Lake Erie every weekend. How he done it, I never know. God told me one day when I was standing out there on the sidewalk looking over at him, he said, well, someday you'll have a son of your own, and you know, you'll know what your dad's going through. And I've got one today, and he's going to be 48 years old this month. So
wow.
And he never served in the military, but I had a military family. My Uncle Hall, his name was Hull Hall. And he went in the Marine Corps, and of course as an E1 he stayed in the Marines 30 years and come out as a warrant officer 4. My Uncle Phil on my mom's side, and so was my Uncle Hall, he was in the Army 26 years. I think he was like an E8 sergeant when he got out. My dad was in 6 years, and he made it to E6 sergeant. My oldest brother is deceased, but he was in the Navy 4 years in Vietnam era. He went to Vietnam. He was on a supply ship taking things over to Vietnam. My brother Mike was in the Army. So he went in after I was in. I'm the youngest one of the family. But my brother next to me was in Army boot camp at Missouri. And a truck pinned him against a building and he got a military discharge.
Wow.
But yeah, all of us served in the service, and I was proud to say it. Only thing, I went to Great Lakes for boot camp, and I went to A school in Millington, Tennessee, and I got stationed in the middle of the desert in Nevada.
Wow.
I said, I'm in the Navy, where's the boats? But I worked on bombing ranges, and it's very interesting. I've seen a few planes go down, just two at the time. I was only in for 2 years. But we spotted bombs for pilots that was going to Vietnam, and I got out in '71. So that's my story on that. And my dad, I believe, went in. I've got his discharge and all of his stuff that when he got out and everything, all the medals he got. He had 5 Bronze Stars and 1 Silver Star, and it's on his thing there. I'm really proud of my dad. How he did it, I'll never know. But when my oldest brother got killed, he was going home on his motorcycle, and a bus, California, stopped and pulled in front of him, and it killed him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must have been hard.
It was hard for my dad. It was hard for my dad on that because, it took it out of him. I mean, I seen how strong he was all his life, and they handed him that American flag, and his head just dropped, and I just knew he wasn't. He made it 9 months, and he had a massive heart attack. But he died early too. But my dad was my hero. He was my hero. And I got a lot of heroes, and not just my dad. I mean, I know a lot of them.
A true American hero.
Yes. Anybody that's in the military and fought in a war. And now, I never went to Vietnam. I was training pilots that was going over there. I was an aircraft radio operator and bomb spotter, or whatever they wanted me to do. So there's a lot of different things they do. They dive angles. They come in and strafe, at low speed. They different ways that they bombed. You wouldn't believe it. They'd fly over the bullseye and go up this way and loft the bomb backwards, or loft it before they got there, and just different ways that they did it. And we had high impact areas where they would drop 1,000-pounders, but they was 3 miles away. It'd still shake the building.
Yeah.
But that's the only kind of bombs I really ever seen. That nothing like what my dad probably seen. But my mom took his brass knuckles away from him. He had a set of brass knuckles, Army issue, and he said those saved my life quite a few times. But my mom took them away from him, and I think she buried him back in the woods.
Yeah.
But he was a great man. He would do anything in the world for anybody, and I saved him a wrench many a day, and that's what he liked to do. I've got a lot of pictures, and
what about your special memories?
Special memories of my dad taking me to Lake Erie, and all of us kids. Usually my oldest brother, he wouldn't probably go, but Bev and Linda and my brother Mike and me, we was all up on Lake Erie, and my dad had a nice boat up there, kitchen and everything in it. We stayed on it, and it was a lot of fun. And how he could do it, I guess, was because he worked out in that garage all the time and went to work every day, and he was a service manager where he worked at, so. Yeah, he worked hard all of his life.
Yeah. I tell you, it's not easy working hard all your life.
No.
With a million other things to juggle in life.
Yeah, and you think about it, raising 5 kids. We all went to Lewisburg School down there at Twin Valley North. It was the Lewisburg Tigers back when we went to it. It's the Panthers now, and that's where I went to school at. And we moved away in '67. I went 2 years to Northmont in Inglewood, and that's when I went into the Navy in 1969,
Wow.
November. And Great Lakes is cold in November, December, and January. Yeah. But I made it, and I'm proud that I did make it. But my dad was just, I can't say much more about him. He was just a great man, and he wanted you to be a gentleman and be kind to others, and
treat others the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Which I think is sorely lacking today.
Yeah. The world's changed so much, and I think there's just too much violence out there, and
yeah.
Nothing we can do about that except hope they don't bother our police officers and stuff that's trying to protect us. But Dad went to, I think he went over, I know he went in 1939. And when he joined the Army. And the same day that he joined the Army, he left for boot camp that day. He didn't get no 2-week week like I did, but he was in for 6 years. And he said, I wish I'd have stayed in for 20. He said, but I think the war kind of did a little bit to him, because he probably seen some things he didn't want to see, which I'm sure he did. But a great man, really great man. Yes. And a lot of people around Lewisburg knew him. As far as taking us fishing, it wasn't even, we walked up there to a little place. It was for kids, and it was a little go-kart track, and he'd always give us money to go up there and ride them go-karts or play pinball machines or putt golf, whatever, But how he did it, I don't know, just from hard work and everything. But I'm really proud of him. He is my hero.
Yes. A hero to be remembered, I must add.
Yeah, I'm sure when you see some of the pictures, you'll be awed. I look at them sometimes, and I get tears in my eyes just thinking, wow, how did he make it? And probably a lot of his friends didn't, but he wouldn't talk much about it. I remember once when I was a little kid, he would, after he got done working on the cars for a while, he would go over and sit up the side of the house there in some chairs he had out there, and he'd drink him a beer. And I asked him one day, I said, Dad, what was the war like? And he goes, they told us on that plane, you either kill or be killed. My dad said, I wasn't going to get killed. He said, and I don't want to talk no more about the war. I said, okay. And that was it. I mean, when he said no, that's what he meant. And and I never pushed him on it, but he didn't like to talk about the war. Yeah.
Do you have any special events or information you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, my dad, like I said, we grew up in the woods too, and we'd all go back in there mushroom hunting when they pop up, and Mom would always go back there and find them. My dad loved to hunt. We'd go back there hunting, and back then you could find quail, pheasant, rabbits, and they're kind of extinct now, but he'd loved to hunt. Always had good dogs. He was an all-around kind of guy that just really liked to help people out, and he would do anything for you, really. He built that house. I don't know what else to say.
Well, You told us a lot of great stories today. Thank you again for your great service to our country and speaking with us.
Thank you.
Wow, what great stories. Very important to be archived through this video series.
Yeah. There was a story I wanted to tell you about my dad, and I've got some pictures out there of that he took when he was in southern France. And it was a story of a little boy he found. He can't be over. I've got his name out there too. He may still be alive today because this picture was probably taken in 43 or 44. I'm guessing. But he found this little boy and he brought him back to his platoon. My dad was the platoon sergeant. They made this little boy a uniform and kept him with them all the time that war was going on to make sure he was safe.
Wow.
And he's got a picture of all of his his men that he fought with, and that little boy is right there with them. And I got a little picture of him saluting and all that. It's just a great little story that Dad found that little boy, and like I said, I've got his name and everything, and he could possibly still be alive. He'd be in his 70s.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing about him. Where he found him, I know was in southern France, but I don't know whereabouts, but he was sure that little boy wasn't going to get hurt.
Yes, that's being a true hero.
Yeah, he was. He was a true hero. Always will be in my day. I carry his name proudly.
Yes. Here at Never Stop Serving, we highlight veterans and, of course, American heroes that continue to serve beyond their military service. Please watch for new episodes of Never Stop Serving. This is another full-pack season, so stay tuned. We are doing great things here with the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. Please, we need your support. Please help us and support us with it in whatever way you can. Also, please continue to watch the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library Facebook page for all upcoming events and updates. If you are a veteran and would like to share your story, please send us an email, gvmpdl@gmail.com. That's gvmpdl@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. This is Samuel Plock, signing off.
Thank you for watching. Please visit us on our social media sites. Please consider contributing to our mission in some way. Also, we are always looking for veterans and their families to share their stories with us. Be sure to join us next week for our next episode of Never Stop Serving.